pretty cool to be able to talk to people about blockchain games, and I'm looking to do a conference across all worlds with a bunch of different people that are in this space that are enthusiasts and have a good clout, good name behind them. Ken Bozak and a bunch of other people that I know are going to be showing up for that. So definitely stay tuned and check out our next conference, which is going to be on February 20th, which, like I said, is the day that Decentraland launches. But also, did you hear about this, Brian? The 20th is also when version 2 of Somnium Space comes out. We're going to talk to them a little bit about Somnium Space, Brian.
Sorry, yeah. As you were just kind of saying, talking about Decentraland, they're both kind of, similar to Altspace and or VR chat or any of these virtual reality kind of social platforms where you can go on and hang out, have avatars, go and do different things, ride roller coasters, go to like an astronomy lab or whatever. But the cool thing about Somnium Space is that, kind of similar to Decentraland, you can actually own little plots of digital land and then build upon it, and everything you build upon it is both yours to own, and if it's like a non-fungible token or some sort of crypto token, then it can be an asset that you can actually sell to people or trade, or maybe like a roller coaster that's super tricked out that you sell like 10-cent tickets for, and then any person that wants to ride it, they can go and click buy ticket. 10 cents will get taken out of their PayPal or bank account or whatever they get set up with it. Then they can ride the roller coaster, and you actually make a little bit of profit. So it's really cool. It's simulating the real world in VR a lot more than Altspace, by the fact that you can actually walk from one parcel to the other. It's not like going into a setting and then choosing worlds and then picking a specific person's and then being confined to this little area. I could go and walk from, say, if this land that we're this building or whatever was a parcel of land, we could walk outside, and instead of just water or a barrier or whatever, you could just keep walking, and then suddenly you would be in the next person's, your neighbor, so to speak's place of land. And then maybe they have a store, maybe they have a house, or just whatever they want to build it to have friends, make friends, and have fun, entertainment purposes only, which is, all good. That's all, available, and, mostly why they're making this platform in the first place is for people to, entertain themselves and actually have some real value to the assets that they're, creating and putting in there, and, potentially making a little bit of money back. You got anything you want to add in on that, or anything else for what you're bringing up for the conference or whatever? And if not, I think we can definitely move on from that.
Yeah, so Somnium Space is a cool platform. One of the things I think is awesome about them is that if you have NFTs from other platforms, you can import it into Somnium Space. So I've seen people take their crypto kitties that they got from 2017, which you probably couldn't do anything with, and then in 2019, Somnium Space gives you an update where you can port your crypto kitty into Somnium Space and have it follow you around like Pikachu and Pokemon. So just shows you different use cases of interoperability where I can take something from 2017 that didn't have the intention of using on any other platform, and because other people want to make it usable in their game, you could be able to take your crypto kitties and port them into Somnium Space, which I think is pretty cool. Um, there's a bunch of new technology or games that are coming out now. Let's take a look at the weekly events or weekly
What are you
news.
trying
Actually, I
to?
see that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was thinking
Let
about
me go in.
the PowerPoint, but I just realized you have Coin Market Cap up, not a slideshow.
Yeah, I can go and throw that up. I don't know if people are going to be able to see it in here. I'm not sure how many screens people are able to see at the moment, but let me go and grab that
Good
link real
point.
quick.
Good point. No, it's not a big deal. We don't have to worry about a slideshow. We can always just talk. So let me hear from you guys. King Khan, do you talk?
Six.
Lady Gale, do you talk?
That wall, one, two, three,
Okay.
four, five, that wall. I don't know if that's a screen or not.
That should be a big screen of prices in a big grid format, what they call a tree map.
It's not
Can
as
you see
full on
them?
my screen. I had like a beautiful brown wall. It works
Ah,
with the
okay.
logo, not just the stairs to get a point.
Ah, okay. Yeah, no, that's a huge Bitcoin price tree
Okay.
map. It's the technical term for that type of graph.
Can I imagine the chart?
It's basically like a bunch of green squares at the moment because everything looks like it's doing so well. But yeah, it's a bunch of green squares, and the Bitcoin is written in giant letters here, just BTC, and the price in the background is green because the price seems to be going up at the moment. What about over
I
here? Can you
mean,
see
at this point,
this?
I feel like you need to get like a paintbrush and just paint it for me.
Uh, um,
It's
yeah.
okay. I just see like windows, stairs that lead up to the nether region up there,
Oh, so
and
you don't
coming
see
down
this
to
webpage
here, and then
here?
just windows.
There's there's a huge
What
webpage that's
headset are
here
you
as well.
using?
Okay. West.
Yeah, the Quest
And it
browser is
doesn't
sort of broken.
show? Interesting. Yeah, in the next world, I'm gonna make it designed for Oculus Quest. This world is, I think, was designed for PC, so that's why you're not able to see a lot of
Okay.
stuff in here.
Yeah,
That's okay.
it
I
was built
mean,
quite
again,
a
the
long time ago.
descriptions are working quite well. And I honestly have very little knowledge of what you guys are talking about. I'm honestly here just to learn and listen. That's why I'm
Great.
Okay.
keeping myself muted. So
That's what we love. People that just want to learn. And let me ask, what do you know about Bitcoin?
that it's internet currency
It's a
and it's
great
really
answer.
expensive.
It's a great answer. So yes, it's internet currency, but one of the things I think people really should understand more about it is the real use case and reason for it. I like to relate it a lot to the internet, which what's the use case and the real reason for the internet? To be able to share information, right? Anytime you want to know something, you go to the internet, right?
True. Yes.
With blockchain and the technology that Bitcoin, Ethereum, all these other cryptocurrencies are running on, that technology that's underneath it, that's a way to transfer value over the internet. So
Okay.
one
Okay. I see what you're saying. So that's like the standard that like set like gives value to your avatar, but in
anything.
other everything. Yeah.
Like when
Okay.
we
I
talk
got
about
you.
blockchain games, I think of Fortnite a lot because so many people are
Hmm.
buying skins and clothes in Fortnite. But when
Yeah.
Fortnite shuts down eventually one day, what happens to all those clothes that those people paid for Fortnite?
Oh,
Hundreds, thousands of dollars kind of just goes
mhm.
away. You don't have anything once Fortnite shuts down. With the games that we're
Not
talking
unless the person
about,
that they gave the money to just kind of spends it on something worthwhile.
right? Well, with the games that we're talking about that are running on the blockchain, like I said, it's all about value. So you own your devices. Think of like your Pokemon cards or any Yu-Gi-Oh cards, stuff like that. Imagine being able to, you own it and then you can plug it into the game and be able to play the game. But if the game shuts down, you still own it and can take it off and go somewhere else with it. Like I said, with CryptoKitties came out in 2017 and they didn't have the intention of, you're going to be able to use this in other games or put it in a Somnium space to walk around and follow you. That wasn't what they were thinking. They
Hmm.
just wanted to be able to create a game and they did. And then other people made it so that way you can utilize those objects from that game in other games. And that's called interoperability. And I love that about this technology because
Hmm.
it's all about what you value and you own what you value.
Okay, so did the person who created CryptoKitties in 2017, uh, like, do they get payment for it being interchanged throughout other platforms or no?
No, it is
Mm,
that's what's built. That's how the platform is built. Once you
okay,
get paid for buying the object, that's it. That's the
yeah,
one-time payment is when I bought my crypto kitty. There's that now it's
that makes
mine.
sense.
I can do whatever I want with it.
But now you've been able to like, I don't know, God mode it. Again, I don't know the terminology and I just don't know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm talking about. But you were
It's
able to,
fine.
I guess, morph it, be able to be something useful and awesome looking
In
and
another
everything in
game.
another platform universe thing.
Absolutely.
Okay, I got you. I am following, I promise. It's just very childish and dumbed down because I have a 3-year-old right beside me
No,
who's
that's
trying, or
perfect.
me
And
myself, a lot.
that's honestly how most people will understand it is by dumbing it down for a 3-year old. I do believe that your kid or other people's kids are gonna learn this technology the same way how you have
Oh,
kids that are
maybe.
learning STEM and all of the kids that are picking up tablets and they're a pro at it from when they're fresh out the womb. That's going to be the same way with this technology. A lot of these kids that are learning how to code at a young age, I guarantee you a lot of them are going to start learning blockchain games, and they're the future for this for all of the technology. All of these kids are going to be pros, and I hear people say all the time, like if you don't know how to code by 2030, you're going to be kind of left out of society.
Well, dang. Guess I got what, 10 years?
Less than 10 years, honestly.
Oh, okay. I'm screwed. That's fine. Arthur, you gotta get to work. Get on your tablet. Do something. No, sweetie, I'm too busy.
Absolutely. That's where the jobs in the future is going to be at. It's all in developing and being able to create. Welcome, Kashik?
Kashik.
Kashik. Welcome. What do you know about Bitcoin and blockchain technology?
Very, very little, but interested to knowing more about it.
Fantastic. I was just telling my new friend over here, Lady Hidden Gill, I love
Yeah,
to compare blockchain
I was
technology.
overhearing your conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can just
I love
call
to
me.
compare this technology a lot
That might
to
be
the
easier.
internet.
My name is long. I understand.
Awesome. And I love to compare it a lot to the internet. Do you guys know how old the internet is?
Older than me.
Internet
Give or
just
take.
turned 30.
Okay.
If you're talking about the
Older than me. I
ARPANET,
can work
then
with that.
yeah. So the World Wide Web was created about 30 years ago, and if you look at the timeline, how long did it take for you guys to get access to the internet? It
I
takes a
mean, think
while for
about it.
when
It wasn't that long ago that we were all using dial-up,
exactly. And dial-up was
and
the
it's
like the
made a
first
lot of
wave.
progress since then.
And that was just the first wave of the internet, this technology. We're kind of at the end of the first wave of this blockchain technology, and it's now on to the
Mm,
second wave, which if you think about the first decade of the internet was just being able to create websites. We went from 3 websites to I think it was like 30 million websites within the first 10 years. That's essentially what's been going on with this blockchain technology. We went from one use case, which was Bitcoin in 2008, to now thousands of use cases between Walmart, IBM, all of these different companies that are finding great ways to exchange value over the internet,
mm.
publicly or privately. And now we're moving on to this wave where, just like in 2000 and 2001, you started to see a lot of different companies that created use cases that people use on a day-to-day basis. Like before, all right. Well, somebody's at my door.
Look at the
Brian,
robot. It wasn't my fault. That was the robot.
you take over. Let me see what's going on.
Well, pets in VR.
I mean, he has a cat on his sweatshirt, so clearly it couldn't have been Central, Essential.
Yeah.
Maybe Shusky. So
If only things could go as well in the real world as they do in VR sometimes, but you just gotta take what life throws at you sometimes. But yeah, as he was saying, exponential growth of the internet and just kind of comparing it to cryptocurrency, and as you can see, for those that can see the screen over here, right now there's around like 2,000 plus probably different types of cryptocurrencies. Many of them being very 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 small, at least as compared to like Bitcoin or some of the bigger ones, and most of them being kind of single use case, a company starting up and deciding that they want a cryptocurrency for, to exchange funds between, money and whatever their product is. And so they go and, spend a few minutes, create one, and then go and try to sell the coin for cash. While as, other means like, some of the games that are developed for it, people spend, months or years even working on these titles for purely, entertainment purposes or for something to, give back to the consumer in hopes that they'll, enjoy themselves and or reap a benefit from it, whether it be monetary or security or any sort of thing. Really, the big issue on crypto right now is the onboarding process. For those of you that don't have any, cryptocurrency or have never really gotten into it, the first and foremost basics to getting into it is setting up a crypto wallet, which nowadays is quite easy as far as a online one, but to actually transfer funds to it and start using it is where people start running into some issues. I know the one that I mostly use and the easiest that I found to set up is MetaMask, which is for the Ethereum blockchain. And this is where you start kind of getting into, muddled, going down rabbit holes of, specific currencies and all that sort of thing. But really, it's just a matter of clicking, create a wallet. It'll generate some keys for you, a public and a private key. You want to, write those down or store them somewhere that no one's going to steal it. And then after that, it's really a matter of just transferring, cryptocurrency, whether it be Bitcoin or an altcoin or any one of those, to the wallet. And then once it gets there, you can spend it on, whatever is purchasable by crypto. Guess we got a question or something, just doing some stretching. But,
Okay, random question.
yeah.
Then why would crypto, and I'm not dissing cryptocurrency, I'm
hmm
curious, like, why would you use crypto's currency when you could use real currency? Wouldn't that just be easier?
Well, so it really comes down to use case. A lot of people, mostly in like third world countries, use it on like a daily basis and or for like
Oh, okay.
sending, across the world. So say if you were living in the United States and you have a,
Hmm.
friend that, whether it be like a family or, someone that that lives, in some country around the world, whether it be like, North Korea or, Africa, Iran, or just, whatever that may be, a
Okay.
restricted country or something. And if you try to just send them money, maybe it's going to get, blocked. Maybe you're going to get a phone call saying, hey, we froze your bank account. Why are you trying to spend money? You're going to have to go through all these issues. You're going to have to pay a bank fee. It's going to take like 3 weeks to get there, if it does even get there. With cryptocurrency,
Okay.
it's as easy as just putting
30
in their
minutes.
wallet address, and then as soon as you click send, you pay like a 2 cent, 1 cent, maybe like a fractional cent fee to transfer it, and then within like 5 seconds, maybe like a minute, it's already in their wallet on the
30,
other
it
side of the
depends on
world.
what platform you're
hmm
using, but at max you'll see with blockchain technology 30 minutes, and a lot of those are cutting down a lot less than 30 minutes now. But yeah, that's the main use case between fiat, which is US dollars, whatever currency you're using, Japan yen, China, all those different currencies. If I want to exchange one of those with you, if I want to give you just $1 over the internet right now, how would I give you one USD? It's a pain in the ass for me to share that one USD with you. I either can use Zelle or whichever other platforms. And if you're not on that platform or that way, it takes
Hmm.
up to 2 to 3 days for like a credit card settlement to process. Whereas with
That's why
Bitcoin,
I
it
was
takes 30
curious.
minutes.
I mean, but then isn't it the same? And I'm only, again, I'm not trying to start issues. I'm just asking
No,
for the
it's
sake of
okay.
asking because, like,
Questions are
I have
good.
family in the States, whereas I'm in the UK, so we have to send money every so
Okay.
often. Things like Zelle and PayPal are incredibly helpful. And
Hmm.
if, God forbid, we have to do like a bank transfer, it's still, I mean, even still, it's depending on the time of day, like if I wait till the evening time, then it's usually possible because even though my bank is closed, theirs is open and they're doing all the work anyway to send me money.
Hmm.
But like if I don't have a crypto wallet, wouldn't it be the same problem? Like if I was to send you money and you didn't have Zelle, that you don't
Here's
have
another
Zelle,
here's
so
another
isn't
big
it the
use
same
case.
issue? And I
Not
thought
everybody
Bitcoins and
can.
stuff were like crazy expensive anyway. So it's not like I really have any of those to
It's
compare with.
not. So
In my
yes, right
imaginary
now
one, yes, but
one Bitcoin is $9,403. But you don't have to
Yes.
buy one Bitcoin. You can buy whichever amount equivalent that you want. So like I have zero point 0.2 Bitcoin.
Okay.
So you can be able to buy a fraction of it and be able to exchange
Mhm.
stuff. So if I want to send you like $1 worth, that's going to be 0.0007 Bitcoin. I can send that to you right now and you'd have it within
Yeah.
30 minutes. Whereas
Okay.
with all the other fiat platforms, whether, unless we're both using like Zelle or something, it's going to take time for that transfer
Mhm.
to settle, especially if you're talking about overseas. Whereas with Bitcoin and most
Yeah.
cryptocurrencies, whether you're
Yeah.
overseas or not, it's done in 30 minutes.
Yeah. Don't do Western Union. That's not worth anybody's time.
Exactly. A check can
Not
take
worth
up
it.
to 14 days. You could just see where all of the different platforms that we've used for money over time has been getting shorter
Mhm.
and shorter for me to be able to exchange. And now this is just a way for me to be able to exchange both physically and digitally within 30 minutes. Another big thing about it is with money, with fiat currency, you don't own that money. The government owns that money. And the government doesn't even own it because they're in debt. You look at our national debt clock, that's a shitstorm right there. We're over $1 trillion in debt. And she's gone. Well,
Uh, she got disconnected.
It happens. Maybe she'll be back. Maybe she won't. Who knows?
should have told her about the Discord.
Yeah, have to
You
pull
definitely need to
that
have the
up.
Discord
Yeah,
up
I
on the
have a
wall
question if
somewhere.
you don't mind.
I'll put it in the next world. What happened, buddy?
What's up? You have a
Kaushik,
question?
did you have a question?
Yeah, actually a couple of questions. One is, based on what I read about Bitcoin and blockchain technology in general, uh, one of the core features of that is the decentralization.
Okay, she's
How
back.
the transactions are decentralized and stored across multiple ledgers, and it's not one single central bank or a financial organization which controls it. So, what prevents somebody else from starting their own cryptocurrency, and
Can you see it
how
now?
does the valuation occur?
Yeah. No, I can. I crashed.
I didn't really understand the question. I'm sorry.
Okay, so the thing about Bitcoin or blockchain in general is decentralization, right? So it's not controlled by one bank, one central bank, or one financial institution. It's among all its users, and the value is set based on that. So what prevents somebody creating their own currency and setting an
Nothing.
arbitrary value to it?
Or you can.
That's
Oh,
what's great about this technology. There isn't anything that prevents that. That's what's cool about it. So if I want to make, let's say, a block, I don't know if you've ever been to this arcade called Dave and Buster's, but if Dave and Buster's wanted to, they can make their own cryptocurrency, and then all of the games that you play inside of Dave and Buster's could accept that cryptocurrency. And just like when you go to Dave and Buster's now, you have to pay, 20 or $30, and then you get your Dave and Buster's card. With this, you can have it all on your phone and be able to use it at any one of the terminals. And there's a platform called Silicon Nexus that's building something like that now with like a franchise type of style business where if you open up your own location and use their devices, you can use their cryptocurrency and be able to play their games as you go around to the different terminals.
Oh, cool.
So yeah,
So don't you think it would eventually go towards a scenario where there are so many of these, Bitcoin-like currencies, cryptocurrencies, and there has to be a regulation for an exchange value because people will be in different ecosystems using different cryptocurrencies themselves,
yes, which is
and
why
that
most
would.
people use Bitcoin as kind of like, I guess some people like to call it gold, digital gold. That's just the main use case for transferring. Some people exchange it into different, so what we call stable coins, where it's pegged to like a US dollar. so that way people, some merchants can feel secure that they're not going to receive a payment, and then because the price of Bitcoin tanked, they just lost, $1,000 on a $10,000 transaction that they did. Whereas if I transfer BTC to, let's say, Tether, and then transfer $1,000 worth of Tether to you, then that merchant has the power to utilize that Tether and exchange it to BTC on their own accord to be able to use for whatever they want. So I guess overall answer the question, value is based off of what you believe in that platform. And with this system, it shares your value across the network with everybody else. So if you're willing to buy and sell, whoever bought or sold most recent is what the current value of that platform is. So the current value of Bitcoin is $9,401, depending on what platform you're willing to sell your Bitcoin on, whether it's Coinbase, whether it's another one. Like looking at up here on Coin360, it currently says the price of Bitcoin's $9,401. But when I look at something like Robinhood right now, which is the platform that a lot of people in the United States are using, currently on there, which is a different platform, Bitcoin's 9,308. So you can see where it's different by a couple of bucks, but it's still value on that platform. So it creates value for the platform that you're on, but to have like kind of a universal value across all the cryptocurrencies, everything can basically be exchanged into Bitcoin and exchanged through there. I can't buy Decentraland's cryptocurrency called Mana and exchange it to US dollars immediately, but I can buy Mana, exchange it to Ethereum, then exchange Ethereum with Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin to US dollars if I wanted to. Whereas what's really the point of all this technology is to get as much Mana as I can, be able to buy worlds in Decentraland, as well as be able
Mana's
to.
at the top of the food chain, and then
Yeah,
Ethereum, and then Bitcoin. That's what I'm hearing.
I mean,
You
that's
talked
just
about a
if
lot
you
of
want it to
exchanges.
be. If you want to trade in Mana, it's up to you.
yeah.
Yeah, you
I
don't
guess.
I
have
didn't
to
realize that
exchange it.
Bitcoin wasn't the only exchange thing. I thought
Oh,
I
no.
didn't know that
What?
Mana and Ethereum was another thing.
Yes,
All
there's
right,
thousands now.
Continue your explanation. My bad.
Yeah, no, it's great. I love the questions. There's thousands now. I want to say in about 2014 or a little bit before that, you might have just found 1 to 10 different cryptocurrencies. Most of the 10 were just, repeats of Bitcoin, just other people realizing, oh, this is open source like Android. I can create my own cryptocurrency. And people just made what we call forks and different styles of Bitcoin. And then with that, people realize that there's other ways that they can implement it and make different changes that are useful for whichever scenario. So there's smart contracts where it creates an escrow. And let's say I'm going to do a service for you in virtual reality. I'm going to make a world for you. You can put the money into an escrow and we make a smart contract. And once the world is done, I immediately get paid. And I don't have to start working on it until I see that there's money in an escrow for me. So that way we can both sign off that I did my job and that the money automatically gets sent to me. I can trust the system and not trust that I'm going to do this work for you and you're not going to pay me.
Yeah, that was.
What happens if the
it sounds a
person
lot
doesn't
like a
deliver?
mortgage.
If the person
Yeah,
doesn't deliver, you could take your money out of the smart contract because you both have to confirm that the job was done.
Okay.
Yeah, and what happens if you just refuse to accept that the job was done?
Oh yeah. If you made me the world, but then I just decided.
I just go, yeah, that's not my
So
fault.
mainly with smart contracts, they make it so that way it's built into the smart contract that you know when the job is done, so that the second the job is done, it's automatically done. There
So
is
was it
no.
safeguards in the middle of the contract then, where like you built like a quarter of the world, and then I check off on it that okay.
Yes,
That's
you
what I
can do
wanted.
that. Yes,
Okay.
that's built into the
That,
smart
or either
contract
that
as
or a
well.
moderator would have to come in at the end of it and
The
assess
whole
that it
goal
needs
is
to
to
go to it,
not
but the
need a
moderator reads the
moderator.
contract and it's like, damn.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that's
Okay.
the whole
Fine.
point of this technology, is to not need a moderator. The only reason why we created banks, hundreds of, or not even hundreds of years ago, less than 200 years ago, we created banks only because there was almost chaos in a sense of exchanging value. What's your three chickens versus my two cows? Being able to exchange that value, how much of my chickens is worth your cow. Instead of doing that, let's go with the bank. I exchange my chickens with the bank. The bank gives me this much currency. I can be able to use that
Mm-hmm.
currency to buy your cows. But we don't
Perfect.
need that bank or that middleman anymore, that's mainly taking a big fee to be able to transfer whatever you value. Whereas with blockchain, I can build it into the system, and just like everything that's been happening over the internet, where because due to the internet, all sorts of technologies are getting cheaper and cheaper, we can then be able to exchange value at, like you said, pennies. I've seen somebody that exchanged over $1 billion on Bitcoin for, I think the fee was like 38 cents. Whereas if you try to, exchange money on certain, Zelle or certain platforms, Cash App will take like a 75-cent fee if you're trying to immediately send the money from your Cash App to the bank.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I see what you're saying.
So who gets the 38 cents? I mean,
So
why is
38
there?
cents is created is sent to the validators. So everything on Bitcoin is a proof of work concept, which if you guys go upstairs, I made an entire museum for you to check out all of the different pictures that display it. Before you go, she's gone. Well,
We can still hear you upstairs.
oh, okay, great.
Damn it.
So with
Yeah,
that
you're still here.
proof of work
I would do
platform,
this. I'm sorry. Wait.
it's
I can
okay.
teleport. Meh.
With that proof of work
I'm
concept,
good.
with being able to have a validator, some platforms use 3 validators, some platforms use 6 validators, but basically those are other computers that are using processing power to solve a puzzle. And when they solve that puzzle, they get a fraction of the reward. So a fraction of that 36 cents is split across the 3 or 6 different validators. There's a couple of videos you can watch as to like why they choose 3 to 6 different validators, but it's a way for you to be able to ensure that it's a real transaction by having 3 computers that validated the transaction. It's a race between the computers to see which computer can validate each transaction as fast as possible. So there's all sorts of computers right now that are just running all of these tough equations, and the first one to solve the equation becomes the next form of the block, thus validating that previous transaction. And once it's been validated, it's built into the system to move on for the next validation. So one of the pictures you'll see upstairs, if you go check it out, I really like to describe the difference between being centralized. Think of Home Depot when they got hacked, and Target. They have a centralized server where all your credit cards are being stored. Whereas with blockchain, it's decentralized. So there's not just one source of entry, there's thousands. So you would literally have to attack it at all of the different 1,000 points of entry in order to attack it or hack it, which is almost impossible because you need to have more processing power than all of the different devices that are on the blockchain, which at this point, that's not possible. There's just not enough processing power to be able to compute all of that data that's on all of these different devices. Whereas with Wells Fargo and all of these banks, there's just one device that I can hack into. Any other questions?
Yeah, so far that's been extremely helpful. Just as kind of before anyone manages to hop up out of here, we do this every Saturday, 11 to 12 Central Time. Central Standard Time. At least that would be my time zone. So whatever hour this is currently for you, this is the same time that we do this every week in here. As Jerome was saying earlier, we will be switching to a new world next week that'll be a lot more optimized for the Quest, which definitely seems to be where most of the people are coming from nowadays, which I'm very excited to see because that is such an amazing headset. So hopefully it'll be a much better world. We'll have to see about getting these coins back in, which I'm very excited that they still work because I know they weren't supposed to, but they do.
Yeah, they were
That's
supposed to stop
yeah.
working, but I'm glad it still works.
I don't want to have to go and remake them all over again. That was a lot of hassle.
Right?
But yeah, so if you guys have any questions or whatever, we'll have to get a Discord link up in the new world right away. So you guys can all join that for any questions during the week. We do also have our podcast on Tuesdays. I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit before we get going and what you have planned with Ken, right?
Yeah. So Ken Bozak, an influencer in the space, somebody that got into cryptocurrency a couple of years ago, and has just kind of been talking to different companies and just riding the wave, telling people more and more about this technology. Um, he is also really into gaming, and with blockchain games, we love that we can own our assets. I was telling somebody earlier about Fortnite, where if you buy clothes in Fortnite, you don't own those clothes that you bought in Fortnite. Whereas with blockchain games, if I buy clothes for my blockchain game, I own those clothes. If that game shuts down, I still have those clothes. This technology is going to keep rapidly advancing, and we want to be able to show you guys what you can do with it. I feel like video games are the best way for people to learn and catch on and have fun with this technology. So every day, Ken and I will be playing some form of games, whether it's a blockchain game, a VR game, just Apex Legends 2D game. We just want more people to come together in a community, and we'll have an Altspace world running where you can talk and hang out with us, and just like today, learn more about this technology. There's so much happening every day. There's no such thing as an expert in this technology. On that note, I want to say
Thank you,
definitely
guys.
check out our Discord. If you have Discord, check us out. Awesome. Looks like Jake the Snake says he has the Oculus Go.
Nice, very
Um,
nice.
that's
And then, is there any plans that you have specifically set up already for the conference on the 20th, or can you go into that a bit?
that's gonna get confirmed very shortly. I wanted to have it done last week, but as for having companies come into a world again, it's still kind of last minute. And there's just I don't know exactly what I'll be able to do with Decentraland just yet. So I want to have this one just be like a social meetup in Altspace that's then relayed across all the other platforms. So VR chat, Decentraland, all these different platforms, and just have it so that way you can meet different influencers in this space and they can get their audience into virtual reality. And we can really just build this virtual community of blockchain enthusiasts. Oh, it looks like he also has the Vive Pro. Okay, I don't know why you'd want to use your Go over the Vive Pro. I could
Maybe
tell
he's
you're on the
not,
go, Jake.
at home or somewhere that would be
That's
easily accessible
possible.
to the Pro. Because the Go is so convenient just to, slap on and push the button and you're using it. Obviously, it's a lot more
True,
restricted
true.
in use on Altspace, but, that's where the Quest comes in out of, both of those. I'm pretty sure they already stopped the development of the Go, and now it's just the Quest and the
Focus
Rift
on the
S and whatever.
Quest.
Yeah, and then
I don't even
if
think they focused on the Rift S like that. Their main focus is just the Quest. I think they'll still make like a Go update in a Rift S or a Rift 2 in the future. But I think their main focus right now at Facebook VR is just cranking out the Quest and getting more people into fun games on the Quest and social experiences. Looks like Jake the Snake's on vacation in Hawaii, which is why he's not using his
Oh,
HTC.
nice.
But well, I'm glad you joined us all the way out from your vacation in Hawaii, buddy. Everybody give a shout out to Jake the Snake right here. Awesome. But yeah, guys, check out our Discord. We do this every week. I'm gonna change the world next week, and you can always find us Blockchain Universe, Block the Central. If you guys have any questions, now's the time.
I heard that they're releasing Minecraft from the Quest soon. So that'd be cool.
Yeah, Yeah, I did hear that Minecraft's coming for the Quest, and if you're on a PC, there's a world, I think called Engine Craft. It's a blockchain based Minecraft server.
Uh,
So a lot of people with this technology are trying to find ways that, regular people like yourself that's just using Minecraft can still learn about this technology and utilize this technology in other things that you're already utilizing it with. But the difference is if I build something in Minecraft, I can own it. Whereas if you build a world or something if you build in an engine craft, you can own it. Whereas if you build something in Minecraft, do you own your world that you built in Minecraft? No, Microsoft owns it.
can I ask a question, or at least ask what your? I just thought of something. You talk about you have a game or something that you know. Oh, Lady Hinga's going to go because she's lagging like crazy. And she's gone. Um, see you later.
Bye,
So
Lady Hidden Guild. Thanks for all the great questions. Join our Discord. I'll send it to you as a message. Go ahead with your question, buddy.
okay, so in the real world, nothing to do with crypto for a moment. We have a lot of technologies which break over time, and there's this concept called planned obsolescence, which I think was invented in the '60s, but specifically was for reselling basically technology, clothes. It doesn't really matter. Anything which you would buy, and then they use the term designed for the dump. So the idea is you make something, it's good enough to sell, but then because you need to resell something next year, what you do is you make it so the previous version of whatever it is either breaks or it's no longer valid, etc. Now, I just realized that what you're talking about in terms of those assets sounds very much like the early days, the vanilla days of World of Warcraft. Because what you used to have is you used to have these items that you would get in game, and they would have something like 2% crit chance or whatever it is, very nice items which everybody would get. And then what would happen is they'd release a new expansion, and because they released a new expansion, they suddenly realized, oh shit, all this other stuff that already exists. And so they would end up having to invent new systems specifically to invalidate the past content, specifically to make it so that item, which is 2% correct, like in the future, they want people to get the new items. They've got to scale that down to, they've either got to change the old items, which obviously on a blockchain is immutable, right? So you can never go back and change. Once they're on the blockchain, that's what the values are. Whereas in that game, World of Warcraft, they could go back and change the values if they wanted to, but they knew it would piss people off. So what they would do is they would add these qualifiers onto items, and it completely depressed the shit out of me. For example, you get an item. I remember a really nice item. It was like a diving jar thing for your head, right? It would allow you to swim very quickly underwater. And when I got it, it worked perfectly well. It was very fun, blah, blah, blah. And then when the next patch came along, they added a little condition on it that said you can only use it in this zone. And now I'm wondering, for all those games developers who are building things and they're going to be successful and they're going to go moving forward, they have to be really careful when they're designing these items, like engine based, what are they called, swords or whatever, just to say it's a sword, because they're going to create a
Assets.
sword, assets, and it's suddenly going to be out there. And they're going to create the next iteration of the system, the next version of the system, and they're like, shit, we can't have a whole bunch of people turning up with these powerful swords. It completely invalidates our stuff. So they'll
So
either A,
when you're porting your item into other games, the developer has control over what that item, even if in another game it's really powerful, you can
yeah,
then exchange it into a new game and it's super weak.
yep,
That's all based on the developer so that they can create
absolutely.
their own balance in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are they going to
Games,
do? They're obviously going to make it so that all those items don't have the same value because it invalidates their game. So you're
exactly.
just going to be in this continuous, because games developers
Which
want to
is
get
which
one
is
of your,
fine. Even then, like it's cool that if I bought a CryptoKitty for, I don't know, $1, $2 back in 2017, and now I
Yeah,
want to port that item into Somnium Space or some other game, I have the power to do so. And then,
yeah,
here we are 2 years later, where that same CryptoKitty that I bought for $2 back in 2017 could
yeah.
now then be $5, $7, and somebody else can pay more to do what I'm doing for less. That's where the sooner you get in, the better um comes
But if you,
in for getting, obtaining your assets. The sooner the better, because
how do you
assets are
know
just gonna.
that CryptoKitty that you bought, when you go into the next platform, that they just, I mean, the thing is with CryptoKitties, I don't know enough about them. As far as I'm aware, they're basically just a nice design, right? They might have some stats or something, but they don't fight against each other or have anything,
So that's what I'm
tangible.
saying with the people that created CryptoKitty. No,
Yeah,
all it was just, I
just
want
a
to be able to
design.
make these cute little kitties
Yeah,
and you can collect them.
yeah,
Then eventually they added on to it where your kitties could then mate with each other
yeah.
and can make more kitties. That's
Sure, sure,
all
sure.
CryptoKitties did.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
other games made it so that way you can take those CryptoKitties and put it into a game like my Ethereum, which is like a card game, and you could
yeah,
port your CryptoKitty in there and give it different abilities, or the developers will give it different abilities that
yeah.
are programmed to make the game balanced.
Sure, sure. And suddenly, because they extended that concept, then the CryptoKitty, which was something aesthetic originally and didn't have any, that the value of it was not conflicting with the next iteration or whatever game. That's why they were like, oh, you know what? I want to bring CryptoKitties into here. CryptoKitties aren't going to be, aren't going to worry about it, are they? They're just going to be like, hey, cool. More people are going to see our product. People are going to want to get
Exactly.
these. The value's going to go up, etc. However, if I brought in a product and it said, okay, you can just clone these now, these exact same, I created a competitor, and actually what I
Clone
did was
what?
trash it. Well, it doesn't matter. Whatever values you were going to pull out of that product in order to put it
So
into your
let's say you
game.
clone my CryptoKitty and make your own
Yeah,
CryptoKitty. Can I
yeah.
validate the clone on the blockchain?
But does it need to?
Yes. If I
Why?
buy with my CryptoKitty, it's validated on the blockchain. I
But
can
why does that matter?
verify. What it matters is that I can be able to put it into another game like Somnium Space. Whereas
Yeah,
if you take my CryptoKitty and you clone it, you
yeah.
probably just have a JPEG or a file that can't be
Sure.
used in most games.
Yeah, but if I'm the game developer, you have to imagine the games developers also are entrepreneurs. Like there's going to be there's a million Minecraft clones out there, millions of Minecraft clones. They don't care about whether or not they're damaging the brand of Minecraft by creating all these really shitty clones, right? All they know is they might make a quick buck and they're out there. So if you decided that somebody rips, so that's why those companies are so, like Microsoft, whoever's, are so insistent on trying to hunt down and stop the copyright or whatever it is, all those things, because it damages the brand. And in the case of where you had that CryptoKitty, and I come along and create shitty kitties that just is a literal rip-off, except that I can just go onto your blockchain. I can just say, oh, look, there's all the values because it's publicly, it's a public blockchain. And even though I can't own it, but I can just copy all the data. I've basically pirated your asset and I can't validate it. You're absolutely right. I can't validate it. But if I'm just playing a game that uses CryptoKitties you've got standing there with your CryptoKitty and I'm standing here with my shitty kitty and they work exactly the same. They look exactly the same. They have the same stats,
The thing is, it
everything.
wouldn't work exactly the same because if I'm playing a game like my Ethereum with you, you can't port in the copy of my CryptoKitty to play me and my Ethereum. Your port
Because of
wouldn't
the
work because it's not validated on the blockchain.
But that's because the people who made was it my Ethereum, they're ethical and they give a shit about making sure that protecting people's,
Absolutely.
rights. But what if
Assets.
those companies didn't? What if they just didn't care?
I don't think that there's a way for them to be able to utilize the objects that are on the blockchain then, and or they would have no value because all of the objects in those games. I can see where somebody can create a clone and it's like I can go in there and buy a bunch of clone objects, that are not validated on the blockchain and you got fucked and they made a quick buck, yes, that's absolutely possible. Be careful of where you spend your cryptocurrency. But aside from that, there's no way for me to take your shitty clone and port it into a blockchain based game, because blockchain based games have that validation system built in. That's what Microsoft, like you said, Microsoft values that because of the fact that they have no validation system for their assets. They don't have assets because there's no way to validate them. Whereas all this technology builds in validation.
Microsoft right now, this whole platform is a whole massive collection of assets that doesn't need any validation. Oh, he's
correct, because it's all centralized. They keep it all on their server, and
you could just rip this off in like you could just open. There's a Unity extractor or whatever it is that allows you to rip Unity assets out of a Unity game.
And I could just recreate Altspace in another.
The graphical side, not necessarily the audio and the networking.
Exactly.
But anyway, yes, yeah, sure. But if I was a shitty ethically devious games developer and I saw that you had a really nice CryptoKitty, and I was like, you know what? Fuck these guys with their ownership of like kitties should be free. It's just data, man. And then you just decide, oh, I'm just going to go through there's publicly available blockchain. I mean, it's just like the Bitcoin blockchain itself. You can just download it. So if the value was just a number which was just on there, oh, this number, this address on Bitcoin has this amount of Bitcoin, and your game just took the values next to those addresses and just used them in the game. The fact that you can't prove that you own that address or anything like that, people playing that game don't care, or it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't.
I would believe that developers have built that into the game, but honestly, that's a great point. I haven't developed a blockchain game yet, but I would believe that there's a system that allows them to know what objects are being ported in, and it goes through a validation system. So that's the whole thing. It's based off the developers allowing certain objects into the game. If it's not, this specific kind of key, or, we can't talk to the server of the other game, then there's no way for us to port it. With a lot of engine games, if you're transferring it across the multiverse, it needs to be an engine item. Whereas some other games, like, we were talking about CryptoKitties and stuff like that, CryptoKitties and my Ethereum sat down and had a conversation in order for them to be able to make it so that their game is interoperable, and you can take your CryptoKitties, and I'm sure they have a list of all of the existing CryptoKitties and upcoming CryptoKitties, and that validated system is then shared with my Ethereum and all the other games, so that way any one of these items can be shared into your game, and somebody else using a random one that doesn't exist on that list wouldn't be able to port their item into their game. I would believe that that's how it's done.
But if I'm just consuming the CryptoKitties blockchain, and I say, okay, here's the key. Can you give me the stats or whatever it is? I literally have no idea what it would be represented by a particular kitty. Maybe it's just an image. I don't know. All that happens is I now have some values. I have an asset. I have some other things. So if I know what that data structure is, during testing, I can just create a fake one. And my game, unless it connects to their API, doesn't know. It just knows, oh, I just got this data structure with an image or whatever it is, and I'm going to carry on playing my game now. So what stops games developers from basically just ripping off all of the CryptoKitties? Yeah, what stops them? And how does that then affect the market if in 2 seconds any one of those assets could just be ripped off? And the game developers don't care.
Really rip it off. I can understand creating a clone, but the thing is, with your clone, you can't do anything if it's not on the blockchain. If I can't,
no, but you can do everything in the game. That's what I mean. If I don't care about the blockchain, I just use it as a source. I never write to it. I literally just read from it and use it to rip off whatever it is. And I say, hey, you play our game, you can bring your crypto stuff in here. And in the meantime, I just rip off everything. And then I just make my game. And you say, well, you can't do anything on the blockchain. I say, I don't care about the blockchain. I'm just using it in my game. I'm just making a normal game, ripping off other people's assets, using it as a way to promote myself because, quote, I use the blockchain.